how
Are
important they
we?
are to the
Can you
AI
put it like that?
space. Um,
Oh, that's real.
yeah. Okay. So I'm live on TikTok. I think I'm live on. Yep, I'm live on Twitch now. Let me
Yeah,
make
me too.
sure we're in shared chat. Yep.
Now, people on
Cool.
Twitch can see my dying plant in the background. I'm trying to revive it.
What
It
happened?
doesn't look good. My favorite thing is when something what happened? Nothing. I have ADHD. That's what happened. My favorite thing is when you see a video. I was watching something that was like some dude saying something stupid on TikTok, and in the background, he had just like four dead snake plants, just like draped all over his room, like clearly trying to like be an aesthetic, but he also hadn't watered them in like 6 months. And everyone was like, my dude, you need to water your plants before you come online and try to tell us how to be.
Oh my
So
God.
anyway, that's the energy I'm bringing is the man who doesn't water his plants.
Yeah. I mean, this is some post Thanksgiving energy, that we got coming in here. I thought I'd be a little better prepared. I'm very. I don't know about how it was for you, but I'm very blessed to be like my family's very liberal coded, right? So there's very few
Mm.
fights happening like that. It's like the degree of leftists that we are is like the argument. It's not like whether or not fascism is like okay. So I'm very blessed in that sense. I don't know
Yeah.
what if it was like that for you. If you were part of the fall brawl hashtag that was out there.
I didn't see that. That's so funny. No, it's interesting. I've heard a lot from a lot of families that this year felt a little bit different at the old Thanksgiving table. But no, I'm in a similar situation. It was funny because it was the first year since I've sort of uh been doing like activism and stuff like that. So it was different in the sense of like I was just like, you guys don't really want to. We don't have to like. I like gave the highest level amount of detail, and then was like, I'm just gonna leave it at that because we don't really need to get into the nitty gritty, and I don't think anybody really wants to
Yeah,
know.
for sure.
But no, I am privileged to not quite have that type of uh, ongoing debate at the holidays. But it seemed like I don't know. I saw some stuff online. I saw a lot of people who were saying that like the tenor and tone of their family has changed compared to recent years, specifically around like the administration, which I'm curious if you were getting that impression as well from conversations online.
Yeah, I mean, I think listen, I think for so long I used to focus on MAGA voters and like the people that were around, like the kind of the people that were like coalescing around Trump and like the how they would behave. And I feel like I've been noticing that it isn't them really as much changing as it is the section of the Democratic Party, the electorate, where I used to be very frustrated with all the way up until the early 2020s. I feel like there's a chunk of them that are starting to truly wake up, like our allies, our ideological allies that are just not willing to go as far as we are in our leftism, right? Those kind of people that I was talking about. And I feel like it's not the Republican Party that's pushing them to the left. It's the Democratic Party that's pushing them to the left. And I use New Hampshire as an example, right? With like what happened over the weekend, right? Which is just like another kind of addition, another chapter to the Shaheen monarchy, like what we're
Oh yeah.
stuck in story, right? Which is just it's like a microcosm though. Like we just happen to really be sensitive and notice it because we're here and we're talking about it. They put that thing out. If you're living in California, it doesn't mean that you don't know what that means. It's like you maybe don't even know what they're talking about. You don't know maybe that Stephanie Shaheen's running. You don't. You just think that maybe it's a family account. I don't know. I don't know what. But for us, it's like a slap in the face for all of us, right? And it hits a little bit differently. And it just again, it's just another chapter in that story of what radicalized you? Well, I'm not so sure it's the Republican Party that's radicalizing us right now. It might be the Democratic Party that's radicalizing us. I don't know how you feel about that.
Yeah, it's interesting. And we'll get into the Shaheen of it all
Yeah.
in a little bit. But Yeah, I think Pat's in the comments saying it's perplexing to me that they're choosing now to jump ship, so all that other stuff wasn't aligned. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like, from my perspective, is like this is kind of what we always knew was going to happen at some point, right? Because this is where things were headed. We knew that he was promising to lower prices while doing things that were actually making the cost of living impossible for normal Americans. And I think, if anything, that felt like it was the theme of this Thanksgiving, was like the conversation around affordability. And so getting away and getting out of that kind of, and this is not speaking on behalf of everyone, of course, but like people are potentially peeking their heads up from this like Republican versus Democrat vortex that we've been living in. And I see great opportunity for populist messaging and for messaging that's around affordability and for candidates and for policy to build momentum around not just people, candidates, but builds momentum around ideas, of like these ideas that we don't have to live this way. There is no reason that we have to be in this affordability crisis. It's completely manufactured. There is no reason that we all shouldn't be able to afford medical care. These are choices that we've made, that have been made for us. And so I think that as most of the country is really like getting pushed and pushed and pushed to this point where like every time you go to the grocery store, the prices are getting ridiculous. I saw somebody post a video yesterday grocery shopping, and they were in the toothpaste aisle, and there was no toothpaste that was less than $7. And it's just like we have gotten to this reality where every little thing to survive is so expensive that I think it's like forcing us to have a level of class consciousness, a level of, hey, why do we have this class of people that can afford 15 houses and private jets while the rest of us like can't even afford toothpaste? It's gotten to this extreme point. And so I see a lot of opportunity in this moment. I see a lot of opportunity to be bridging that gap and reaching to people, not as a Republican or as a Democrat, but like, hey, this environment that we're living in, like this is late stage capitalism, baby. This is like by the book how this shit ends, right? Things get so bad, it all falls apart, and that's kind of where we're at. And that means we're ready to keep going, right? And we're ready to say, hey, there's a different way. There's a different way to do this. So that was kind of that was my kind of little hope core coming out of the weekend. But yeah, what are your thoughts?
That's spot on. And my reminder, and I talk to you about this, I know, offline all the time, and I hope that you keep me accountable. But I believe that it's so important, even when I find myself falling into these like pockets of frustration where I just want to yell at people, right? Where I just want to be angry and mad. And we're all angry and mad. I'm trying to completely put blinders on here. And like Marissa said, the opportunity here, and we're going to talk about it with the polling, that the first poll that came out, right? That I think that kind of spoke to what both of us are thinking about this election. The St. Anselm poll that just came out. We'll talk a little bit more about that. I believe that there is a true, like a opportunity of a lifetime here, where a lot of the time, right, political movements, they hope for like a 5 to 10 year period where they can pull something crazy off. When you talk about the stars aligning in a way out there where there's the perfect opponent, there's the perfect intra-party opponent, there's the perfect, when I say perfect, I mean for a movement to flourish, amount of like voter turnout, which is very low. And of the people turning out for those primaries, they are very motivated, right? So all of these things lined up, you can do crazy things in a year as long as we spend this time strategizing, organizing, staying disciplined. We do not fall into these kind of blame games, identity politics. There's a lot of that. I mean, that's something I'm going to talk about too a little bit, which is a little personal thing that I'm seeing on the internet. But like, I have to remind myself that these are traps along the way. That when people start, like, the algorithm starts peppering in stuff that is like, well, you know, Kamala is like is you know, responsible for this amount of vote because this marginalized community didn't show up and this one didn't show up and they don't care about them. And every piece of that conversation is a distraction. Every piece of that conversation is to get you to hate on another group. And this is something I'm seeing firsthand. Let me tell you guys, as a Middle Easterner, you know, like I'm seeing this firsthand right now with Dearborn and everything. And I want to use this because it's hard. And I want to use the expertise I have to help everyone too. That it's going to get harder before it gets easier. But all the signs are there for everyone, man. Like this is like I'm like every day I'm a little bit more excited because it's just it's up to us. It really is. I hate to be cliche. It's up to us. Like the environment is perfect for us. So that's the last I have to say before we move on to our topics.
It is, you know, we'll talk about the St. Anselm data. It came out last week. This is interesting. This is an interesting aside. It came out like a week ago, and then there was barely any news coverage about it, which I just found like weird. Like it was weird. I was like trying to find news coverage and there was like almost none. And it was just kind of interesting. And I think part of it, I don't know, this is just tinfoil, just put on my tinfoil headband, but it was just a little bit strange because essentially the data does not paint a really good picture for the establishment, right? Is because what we see in this data is that people are feeling disenfranchised. People are not feeling a strong pull towards even the more establishment candidates that are running. Our incumbents are not seeing strong favorability numbers. It doesn't paint a great picture if you're somebody like Maggie Goodlander or Chris Pappas. And so it was just kind of interesting to see that. And one of the opportunities that I saw when I was looking at that data is just how many young people have high, and you and I have been talking about this a lot, is that in New Hampshire, we have a highly activated, mobilized, engaged sort of younger population. But they also don't have any affinity right now towards any of our incumbent candidates. So there is quite an opportunity, I feel, for people on the left who are trying to paint a picture of a different version of reality that is very different from the one that we live in and prioritizes the well-being and human dignity of all people rather than prioritizing profit, corporate greed, and wealth hoarding. And so I think that if we paint that picture successfully enough and really focus on getting people to show up, there is a lot of opportunity. So, you know, it's not to take away any of I never want to take away any of the very real like pain and suffering that's happening, because when I say that I'm being optimistic, because I don't mean to be doing any like spiritual bypassing or anything. I'm not trying to gloss over the reality that people are dealing with. But we are seeing good conditions for change. And I think that there's a lot of people who are ready for that change.
I think without like giving away too much of the details of the poll, yeah, I mean you're spot on.
Just get into it.
What's that? Yeah, you want to get into it? Let's just jump into it. Yeah, let's do it. Cool. So this was the St. Anne's. This is the first major poll that I can remember, at least.
Actually, I'm gonna pause you for. Yeah. I'm gonna pause you for 1 second. Just if you're watching on TikTok, we're screen sharing on Twitch. So if you want to join us, you can join us on mobile or on desktop or even on your TV. And we are screen sharing over there. If you want to follow along with us, you can look up either one of our usernames. All right, go ahead, Arya.
Absolutely. So St. Anselm College did a poll like that were the results were released on the 18th and 19th. And they asked like a bunch of just like I don't know, I guess they asked like a bunch of questions, and they do list the questions here. You can look up the poll too. You can search it really easily. I just searched St. Anselm poll, and there's a PDF you can actually look up, and the questions are like questions that you would consider relevant to like next year's election. So Again, little things like who did you vote for last election? How likely are you to vote for in this congressional election? Is the country heading in the right direction? Who are you likely to vote for in the primary? Your opinions on a whole bunch of these people. So Kelly Ayotte, Chris Pappas, Scott Brown, John Sununu, Maggie Goodlander, Lily Tang Williams. These are all people that we know for a fact are either probably going to be their party's like primary, is someone who's going to be in the primary regardless. So I don't know if should we just go over the results really more than the questions? I guess the questions aren't really.
Yeah, what jumped out to you? You know what? Can I just, as a quick aside, just because you and I have been going down the Free Stater rabbit hole and we're watching this, I didn't realize that Lily Tang Williams, who was on the Free Stater documentary, is running against Maggie Goodlander until I saw the survey, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. That's all. I just want to point that out in case nobody else noticed it. That we've got a Free Stater in our midst in that candidate in that campaign, which I thought was interesting.
Absolutely,
I just personally hadn't clocked it.
And she's run on that side multiple times. I don't know, like they don't have another candidate to run there, I guess, because it was the last couple races. I'm pretty sure she was the Republican nominee, but I'll tell you what really the biggest things that really turned out to me, or the biggest things that really showed up to me is the amount of people in this country or in this state that voted that they think this country is going on the wrong track, right? So that was one of the big votes that came out. It looked like it was around 60%, or sorry, 46% of the state, right? And that's a plurality in New Hampshire. I know that doesn't seem like a lot, but that is the plurality in New Hampshire. Pessimism is high in the country. It's 58%. So again, there is this, I want people to just be aware of like these other Democratic races that are going on around the country, and whether it's Democratic excitement, hopefulness, they are showing up to vote for a candidate, or are they showing up to vote against a candidate? Are they voting against Trump, or are they voting for Zohran Mamdani, which I think is, again, are they voting for Zohran Mamdani, or are they voting against Trump? That's the question in every one of these kind of elections for me as of right now, because what have Democrats provided us as a North Star, as something to be excited, hopeful for? They won't even stand up for us for the most part. So I think that was really big. And I think there was, again, the part here that is kind of, that is really big, that I think really speaks to what we have talked about, is this big statistic where 93% of Democratic voters are going to vote in the general. That's what they said in this poll. 93% of New Hampshire Democrats are going to show up in the general. The general, we think is my belief that this is the race. The primary is the race, because general Democrats will show up just based on anti-Trump temperament alone. I would never say that publicly because I don't want people not to show up, right? I would never say that out loud. And so pretend I'm not saying this to you. It's going through one ear and out the other.
Except for just our friends.
Yeah. But like the real onus of these elections, the real focus, again, last primary, 2024 primary, like 30% of New Hampshire Democrats showed up to vote in that primary, right? So they're not excited to show up in the primary. That's something that we have this has confirmed, I think. I think this has confirmed that. And there's just one last thing that really stuck out to me, which is, again, what we talked about. Housing is by far the most important issue in this state. By far, 78%. It was, what was it? Yeah, 78% of New Hampshire citizens, they believe affordable housing and are open to government intervention. What does that mean, government intervention? Government intervention in this definition clearly is defined as zoning reform. That is what we have always targeted as one of the biggest issues. And again, another story broke over the weekend, which I will point to later, In Merrimack, New Hampshire, near the outlets where it's right next door to Nashua, if you're from my area, Merrimack is like, it's got some nice outlets. It's a good place to go. And they wanted to build like 200 apartments there, like 250. And the town said no. They said no because of the traffic. And they like apparently did studies over the traffic. And the townsmen were like, it's not good enough for us. The studies aren't good enough because it's going to add a little bit of traffic, in the daytime and the nighttime. And for me, it's like, if you need just one example of like what the biggest problem here is, it's right there. And at this point, my advice, like, to any of the candidates is fuck the voting records. Go after the housing. Talk about housing every time you open your mouth. Every time you talk about ICE, you talk about Gaza, you talk about anything, bring it back to New Hampshire housing. You can. It does affect New Hampshire housing in one way or another. Housing, and then whatever the issue is. Housing, whatever the issue is, it is 5 times more important to New Hampshire voters than any other issue. So have a one-track mind. Housing, that's it. Government intervention, fine. Zoning reform, fine. Tell the government, you know what? We will put rent freezes and rent control in until rental vacancy hits 4%. It's an easy thing the government can do. But out of some stupid personal freedom that they sold to you over these decades, like town individual freedom, personal freedom, like they've convinced you that's like bad for you. Like I got people on the internet arguing to me about how rent is up because of inflation. Like people like do not understand how this shit works. And it's up to us to say it in the plainest fucking language now. Like the big boys are not being fair. They're putting us on the street and it's up to the government. That's the entire point of government. Okay. If you go to philosophy class and philosophy school about government, the entire point of government is to protect you, right? It's the whole reason it's there. There's no reason there's no other reason for it to be there. It's there to protect the people inside of it against things that are more dangerous than it, more powerful than it. It's supposed to represent you, not represent the landlords. And so people have to say it like that. They just have to say it because Republicans want houses too. Yeah. They pay property taxes too.
Yeah, I think this is a good example of like an issue that we have totally lost the messaging plot, and we've lost the messaging battle on this one. And because it really is like there's so many obvious solutions. I want to read a couple of things from the TikTok comments. As a response to some of what we're talking about, Caitlin said, yes, I've been saying this for years. Dems need to run for something, not just against Trump. And I think we're seeing that really backed up in some of this data here as well. Brandon's in here talking about, my problem is that we lack political imagination. And I think that's like so incredibly true. Private development is the only popular method. Private development is the only popular method for both parties. And NIMBYism is hyper individualism. Rich white liberals will never support rent control, unfortunately. And Shelby says, seeing that voters trust Republicans on the economy and Democrats on affordability is super interesting. And I just wanted to kind of bring that back to if you want to go to page 19.
Got you.
There's one of the questions was, in your opinion, what is the most important issue facing America? And, number one being elections and democracy, I think is a good like indicator, but also like a messaging red herring where like, as we're talking about what do we want to be focused on? I think people are so fucking tired of hearing about election integrity and like the democracy argument. It didn't land with people. Like, I think people are concerned about it, but it's not getting people out to the polls. So what I find really interesting is like what's right below that. And I think it's the economy, inflation, affordability. And I think like honing on, like hammering those messages alongside housing is going to be really important, because we're seeing throughout this data that people are not aligning. The way people are aligning with parties is not the same as it once was. And so we have opportunity to move people on these economic issues and on these economic issues that impact them specifically and they're feeling. And to get back to the Thanksgiving conversation, like this is what people are talking about. And this is the opening that we have. The opening we have is how these policies impact you and your family and your house and your grocery bill. And that is what I think has the potential to win us elections now and in the future, instead of, getting stuck in kind of these messaging loops. And then just to wrap it up, David says, local government is government by 5 angry people at a meeting and 15% turnout. Exactly it is. It's just like, it's that we have to solve the turnout problem. And if we do, I think even if we move the needle a little bit, it will make a huge difference in the state as small as we live in.
No, absolutely great points. And there's the 2 really quick things I wrote down because I always forget what I want to talk about. Because people are so good and active in the chats, and I want to like touch on the things in the chats. But no, Brandon says rich liberals won't support rent control, and I agree. That's why I say fuck them. Let me explain why I say this. Why I say fuck them. Okay. And why I'm telling you, just like the Tea Party, the primary is the whole game here. And we have a year to try to round up as many people who are disconnected from the primary season to just show up one time. Show up one time. And again, I use percentages that the New Hampshire Secretary of State sends out every year, which is they guess around 28%, 30% of Democrats or the electorate is going to show up in the primary. That includes Republicans who in 2024 are more excited to show up, right? Because they're not the incumbent. They have Donald Trump. They're all, coalescing. So that percentage was actually higher. You get, theoretically, again, this is all theoretical, obviously. I mean, it's not impossible because the Tea Party did it, but theoretically, you get half the people who don't show up in a primary to show up. You're going to win that race. And then you're going to win the general just based on anti-Trump sentiment. Again, don't repeat that. I'm not going to say that out loud because I would never try to tamp down the general. There's that much anti-Trump sentiment in these Democratic votes. The second part I want to kind of throw out there is there is a decision coming up for America, for us here, okay? And I've been talking about it for a couple of weeks now, and now the media and other creators are starting to pick up on it. Nicholas Fuentes and Tucker Carlson are coming for y'all, are coming for all of us. I've been saying it for weeks. If the Democrats if they keep capitulating on messaging, if they keep allowing the Nicholas Fuentes of the world to flank them on the left on things like Gaza and affordability, you are looking at something much worse than Trump coming down the pipe here. You're talking about shrewd, smart ideologues. They are charismatic. They are grabbing the attention of the young, frustrated Gen Z. I'm seeing it. I can see it from a mile away. And what we're doing, right? The antithesis to them. This is the last thing I'm going to say. The fight for them, the antiseptic for them, is Zohran Mamdani. That's the antiseptic. Because it's all about affordability. That's why Trump cozied up to Zohran. He wanted that populist glow that Zohran had at the moment that he was running on. Yeah, put it on a shirt. That's right. The populist glow was running, dripping off of him after that election. They threw everything at him. AIPAC spent $50 million to beat him there, and they couldn't. He was bulletproof. He's our Teflon Don. He's our Donald Trump, right? So he is the antiseptic, and watch what the Democratic Party does now. Which way are they going to turn? Are they going to turn towards Zohran? Or are they going to turn towards Nicholas Fuentes? Because that is what's going to happen. That's your choice here. And that's all of our choices. Who are we? And we need to excite people and again, who excites people to show up? People that don't normally show up. I'm talking like, again, I'm talking like the communists and the anarchists, the social people that don't show up normally. You just need to they need to show up one time. And you can't make them show up by scaring them. They ain't scared of shit anymore. Okay, we've treated everyone on the left like trash. Now you just need to convince them to show up.
And to your point about needing to convince people to show up and having the right candidates and the right messaging to do that, I don't know if you want to pop down to 2023, page 23, and the opinion polling around Maggie Goodlander and then Chris Pappas on the next page is just very interesting, right? Because if we want to start on page 23 with Maggie Goodlander, you look at her favorability rating. I mean, her strongly favorable is 17%, somewhat favorable, 23%. Look at no opinion, never heard of. Like no opinion, 21%. People don't know. With Maggie Goodlander, the problem is they don't even fucking know who she is. There is no organic energy behind Maggie Goodlander. This is like, she is fully establishment. It's like she was appointed for the position. She does not have name recognition. She's not a household name. Maybe after this week she is, right? She's been in the news this week. But she doesn't have any kind of organic energy around her. She is not going to get people to the polls, right? Maggie Goodlander is going to do no one any favors in getting people to come to the polls. If you want to jump down to Chris Pappas, it's a similar, oh wait, hold on. Chris Pappas is on page.
I got him right here.
Oh yeah, there we go. 21, yeah. You look at Chris Pappas and he's got a much better name recognition. People know who he is, but still his approval ratings aren't very high. His strongly favorable ratings are not very high. He is not motivating people to get out because no one's excited about him. They see him for the establishment APAC shill that he is, and nobody is energized about him. We have other options who have good policies, right? There's other people in these races who have very good policies. And we have a year to help people understand what these policies are and explain to them why they matter, because so many of them are a little bit outside like the mainstream way of thinking and talking about politics, but they are all realistic. And they are all the types of policies that impact these bottom lines of people's household budgets. They impact housing. These are the budgets that are going to impact real New Hampshire people's lives. And then lastly, I'll just say while we're here too, if you look at the Kelly Ayotte numbers, she also is, for an incumbent governor, she's not polling well. No. And so there's just a lot of energy here. Kelly Ayotte's not pulling people out to vote either. I think nobody on the right is excited about Kelly Ayotte either. I think she's like fine, which means we have to them. I don't think she's fine, to be clear. So we have this opportunity to pull in all of these people that are feeling disenfranchised, who are feeling the hit of the economic pinch of the reality that we're living in right now. And if we also differentiate ourselves from the establishment, and the establishment has gotten us into this mess, there is, I think, really, really good opportunity there.
Without a doubt. I mean, this screams opportunity on every level. And listen, Sinahan, one of my favorites, right? Let me be the bearer of a little bit of hope for you, okay? I hate it. It makes me sick. It makes me sick to be this hope bearer. But you know what? We all deserve a little bit of let me give you a little stat here, right? In New Hampshire, the youth in New Hampshire is very unique. Gen Z is very unique in New Hampshire. Something like 20-ish% in 2022, I believe. Don't quote me on the year, but 2022, I think. Of like all the Gen Z vote, like between 18 years old and 20 years old, something like in the teens or in the 20 percentile, they were registered to vote. Of those that were registered, and this is a primary year, so it was 2022. This was a midterm year. Sorry, that was important to me because that's very important that there's not a general going on. And they noticed that like something like around 20% of them were registered, but of the ones that got registered, like 90+% vote. So what does that tell you? It tells you You get them registered, they'll vote. Like almost 100% of them. You get them registered. You go out of your way. You go to the colleges. You make sure you reach out to the New Hampshire students like me who left high school. I left high school. I was in Massachusetts, but I was still allowed. I'm still a resident of New Hampshire, like at least through that year. These things are very important. And no one in New Hampshire, especially not these Democratic fucks, the New Hampshire monarchy, is interested in rocking the boat. They're doing well. Why would they go get the youth involved? But I'm telling you, one of my biggest messages to Paige Boschman, to everyone, is let's go to the college campuses, go meet up with kids where you would never find establishment Democrats or establishment anyone. You'll never find Kelly Ayotte going to like a raucous, maybe a pub or something with a bunch of like a bunch of savvy 21-year-olds that are like, because I've seen these kids. I've seen in front of Paige Boschman. And Paige is great. I mean, she's a person. It's not like she's putting on a show or anything, but like they're savvy, they're intelligent, and they are so hopeless right now. I can't tell you how many of them came up to me. They were like, "Well, you're the comms director." I didn't expect. Like, I'm wearing a hoodie. Like I'm hanging out with them. I'm like talking with them, and I'm like, this is how it is now. Like people don't want to hear from you're going to get they don't want to hear from the suits anymore right now. They never wanted to. Before I was a little bit extreme for the establishment. Now I think the establishment is opening up. I think the Overton window, again, for lack of a better phrase, is changing a little bit. But the whole thing that I want to put here again is that it's hope. And this message is so important through the last few elections too, which the totally winnable elections that we've lost is due to a lack of hope. It's people aren't excited. You can't excite people to show up. And am I saying I'm saying that's the whole game. I'm not saying that like I'm so smart. We're gonna be able to do it as a group because no other. Nah. That's the whole game here. It's going to be so hard, but is it impossible? Fuck no. It's so much more possible. It's not. Like, and again, when we talk about big money, I just one other like just a little bit of hope sprinkle I want to give to you. When Eric Cantor got knocked off in Virginia, Eric Cantor was going to be the Speaker of the House for the Republicans. His primary in Virginia during the whole like Tea Party insurgency was an afterthought. He outspent the primary opponent something like 80-1, some ridiculous number. The number 2 Republican in the country lost to an insurgent Tea Party. That was the beginning of the floodgates for the Tea Party. That's all it takes. One race where you think the odds are so stacked against you, you show up, you will, and I am so trying to tamp myself down here. You will send reverberations across the country. I'm not saying, again, I'm not telling you it's going to happen, but if we can do it, you will send a shockwave across the country. You will. I mean, there's no other way to say it.
Brendan called this your hopium, which I like.
Yeah.
You're bringing it, and that's what I'm. And Shelby said something in here. Shelby, I'm loving having you in our TikTok chat. By the way, I would love to see you always. I appreciate your presence. Shelby's done a lot of organizing here in New Hampshire specifically, and so she's bringing a lot of really good context to this as well. And she just said, and knowing that this is a long fight and won't be changed in a single election. And I think that's an important point that is, we don't name that a lot, but I think it's an important point of how both of us are thinking about this. Mm-hmm. And I think it's fair for us to like name that. We're not measuring success of what we're doing by 2026 and the results of that election. This is Arya and I have this unhinged optimism right now that you're sensing. And that is like, we both have this like feral optimism that that we are in the moment where these ideas are about to ramp up and become mainstream. And we're all going to be part of that. All of us who are here, like having these conversations and talking about this. And so I don't think that we're talking about it through the lens of electoral politics, but this is a much bigger shift that's happening because we are seeing, like, I believe this is like we're seeing our systems crumbling, right? And so we cannot continue as we have been, and things will have to change. And the people who will find success in the power vacuum that is going to be left by whatever happens as this administration starts to fall apart, whoever is prepared and says, I have a plan, I know how to fix this, and I know what can get us out of this. That's how we move forward, right? And so what we're saying is like, hey, I know this isn't going to end well, right? I know this isn't going anywhere good. And so we're not looking at this as incremental change. We're not looking at this as small shifts in electoral politics. This is like, how do we fundamentally like change the way New Hampshire shows up in politics? And I think people like, I was thinking about Heath Howard the other day. He was posting a clip from after the incident with Jeanne Shaheen at the New Hampshire Democratic Party dinner. And the reporter was kind of, it seems like was trying to do a little gotcha with him of like, well, you got the attention, now what are your actual plans? And he just was like, here you go. Let me drop the fucking book on you and show you all of my plans, right? And let me paint a picture for a better future. Like this is showing you, hey, we don't have to do things the way that we always have. So all that to say, I don't know if you're pulling up his polling data too, because I found this interesting. But yeah, we're not viewing this as, we don't intend to kind of give up if there's a short-term losses on this, right? This is a long-term play.
Who is it? The person you want to meet? Donald Trump?
Oh, Heath.
Oh no, was Heath on here?
Yeah, he was. Hold on. Let me find what page it's on.
Sorry, I was like thinking like why I didn't see anything on Heath, but I clearly missed it.
Hold on, now I'm not able to find it. But I can't control F on this document. Regardless, he's now coming in, I think, third, right behind Stephanie Shaheen and Maura Sullivan, which is not bad for a fucking 25-year-old who's in the state house with no corporate backing. So it's an interesting moment. And then last thing from Shelby that I just saw, and the billionaires love when we feel hopeless. And that is so fucking real. And that is what keeps me going in the morning, is my hatred of Jeff Bezos and these billionaire fucks that are ruining our country.
No, I mean, this was all perfectly said. There was something that it's splitting my mind now, but no, the shutdown stuff too, the popularity of the shutdown stuff was really big. Like how it was just like very, poorly handled. People were not happy with that. Like the not happy with Maggie Hassan and Jeanne Shaheen. And that was obviously that tracked with what we thought, right?
Yes. Wait, did I find it? Sorry, no, ignore me. I had it.
Might have found it.
This is like an 80-page document.
Yeah, it's 78. It really is like 76 pages.
Here we go. Page 26. 26.
Okay,
there
gotcha.
We go.
Cool.
So yeah, for that CD one race, Shaheen's got 26%, Sullivan's got 6%, Howard's got 4%. Sullivan has 6% and Howard has 4%. That is incredibly close. So Annie, we're looking at new St. Anselm reporting that came out about a week ago. So you can either follow us along on Twitch, or we're screen sharing on Twitch, or if you want to just pull it up, you can just Google St. Anselm.
61% unsure.
Survey. But right, okay, so that's what I'm talking about, right? Like 61% is crazy, right? And then if I'm reading this correctly, like frequency, this is the amount of people who answered the survey. So what's super interesting is when you look at the raw numbers, that means, okay, 128 people answered the survey that they would vote for Shaheen, 31 on Sullivan, 18 on Heath Howard, and then 7 on Chudzinski. And it's like lower from there. It's so crazy because these polls are actually very important. And like, especially in a race as crowded as this one. And we're talking about literally the difference between like a few poll responses is pretty crazy. And it just goes to show like how much opportunity there is in a state like New Hampshire, where there are just these like razor thin margins. And the fact that now, like the fact that Heath is able to be, he's saying that he's in the top 3 and he is within punching distance of Morris Sullivan. And yeah, someone's in the comments saying, well, and Sullivan has a lot of funding. Morris Sullivan is a very establishment-y type Democrat, right? She's got a lot of money. She comes from big money, big military backing, if I'm remembering correctly. And the fact that he's been able to get that much energy, that alone is a huge fucking coup for like having good ideas, showing up where the people are. And to circle back to your point about college campuses and all of that kind of stuff, like I have literally been like lying awake at night thinking about like what I can do at UNH, and like what we can do that hasn't been tried before to get these people engaged, or hasn't been tried before with the right policies, right? Is sometimes I think people will try things, but they'll try things. Trying something for a Chris Pappas-like candidate is very different than trying things with a candidate who's talking about Medicare for all, and a candidate who's talking about housing as a human right, right? These receptions on a college campus are going to look very different. So we are thinking about like, how do we get these people out of their house? How do we get these people registered and get them to show up? I think that's going to be a huge part of our efforts in the next year. And I think if like all of us need to kind of rally around that.
I think the other, like the thing that no one talks about with Morris Sullivan too, and I just had to like look it up again too, because some people have told me this. He's like a vice chair in the New Hampshire Democratic Party, the executive council or whatever. Like she's an officer. Like how is that even allowed? Like I don't understand. I don't understand half the shit. Like it's infuriating how half the shit that occurs here is like just like glossed over. Like, hey, the first vice chair of the New Hampshire Democratic Party is running for a seat with the daughter of the monarchy, and then a 25-year-old only, like the person that I should win the seat, right? Like it's like I can't. To me, all it does for me is it infuriates me. And I've learned over time now that this is such a powerful emotion if you redirect it into something positive, right? So let it infuriate you the way it infuriates me when you learn about these things. But don't let it poison you. Don't let yourself sit with it. Again, look for the opportunities, look for the silver lining everywhere. And yeah, I mean, first of all, like Jean Shaheen has name recognition going into this race. She is, and to the fact that this many people, even it's just 500 people that answered this, fine, but like 500 regular New Hampshire people who are like gonna answer a political poll, and she's not gonna have like a major lead in that race, like maybe something the type of lead that Jean Shaheen would have if she had she was still in her race going into the primaries. Like right now, I would imagine it would be pretty similar. But it's a testament. It's a testament to it's a testament to the state of the state, and a testament to the lack. I do believe that I don't believe Democrats have learned their lesson anywhere along the path yet. Especially not here in New Hampshire. I mean, we saw that in their TikTok, right? So I do believe that they're in for a rude awakening if we can punish them. And that's it all comes back to this. Can we punish them for this absolute inability to read the room, for lack of a better word or a phrase?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one other thing, I'm just trying to pull up a good image to share, but I can't find it. Mm-hmm. I just wanted to flag, we mentioned this briefly last week, but there's these other PACs that, in regards to Chris Pappas specifically, we've talked a lot about APAC. We're seeing there's other associated PACs that don't have the same amount of name recognition, but have similar goals and indicate similar priorities. And one of those is DMFI PAC. And last week they announced their first, or I guess November 20th, they announced their first slate of Senate endorsements for the 2026 primary cycle. And one of those endorsements was Chris Pappas. Four different races that they nominated somebody in, or excuse me, that they endorsed somebody in. And the fact that Chris Pappas is at the top of their list shows his continued commitment to funding this genocide. We have not seen him speak out in any significant way against the horrors of what's happening in Palestine as a result of our tax money that's being used. He has shown again and again that he prioritizes the need of a foreign nation above our own needs here in the United States. And so to see this endorsement roll out while the tone and tenor of this conversation has shifted really dramatically in the last 6 months, I think that we have reached a new level of understanding among the mainstream about what's happening in Palestine and what's happening in Gaza, and the fact that this is a genocide. I don't see many people arguing with that anymore, right? It is very common it's a commonly held opinion now at this point. We have seen some of this shift, right? And so as that continues, I hope that we continue to see that pressure being put on Representative Pappas, because he is continuing to, and not only on him, right? On all of the Democrats that are supporting him. And I don't want to paint with broad brushes. And I'm always trying to be really careful, because I'm never trying to insult individuals within the Democratic Party. I'm not trying to insult the hardworking people that are showing up and doing the work and knocking on doors. And like, those are people that are doing incredible work, and it's very important. That being said, if you're continuing to support Chris Pappas, considering how here we are at the end of 2025, and he is still very committed to funding Israel and funding this genocide, I have a lot of questions for you about why you're continuing to do that. So I am intending to be bringing that energy to conversations I'm having with people in Democratic circles. Is Chris Pappas, for me now, beyond all the other reasons that I don't like him, which, to be fair, like, I have a lot. He's done a lot of things that have made me very distrustful of who he is as a person. Arya, can you stop yawning? I know I've been going on another Chris Pappas rant, but you can just like, just let me have my Chris Pappas rant, and then I'll be done. And then we could talk about the Shaheens. But I just wanted to say that I think that he is a fucking problem. That's a fucking problem, guys. And that needs to be a problem for everybody. So keep the heat on. Every once in a while I peek at his TikTok page and I laugh, because like everybody's already in there saying the same shit. But I hope that will continue, because we still are a long way out from the primary, and he's making some questionable choices. Thank you. That was the image I was looking for. I'm so glad that you found it now at the end of my spiel. You're on mute, by the way, bud.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, and I do want to, and I was just looking up, and I was yawning looking up some of these candidates, because some of these candidates, I've heard their names before, and they're coming from very important states. Look at these states, right? Okay, ignore Roy Cooper. That's the Republican governor from North Carolina. But Minnesota, New Hampshire, Michigan. These are all battleground states, right? Okay, first of all. So is North Carolina in its own way recently. But Haley Stevens is the Democrat running against Abdul al-Sayed, the insurgent Democrat in Minnesota, who is anti-Israel, pro-Palestinian, I think he's part of the DSA, or actually has been endorsed by the DSA, right? And then Chris Pappas has, a couple progressive candidate. Karishma is like obviously very loud on Gaza issues, right? And Angie Craig, Minnesota, Minnesota has a very prominent Muslim community, a very prominent like Somali Arab community there. It's like the second largest community outside of Dearborn, Michigan, right? So what are those? I mean, if you look at these, so there's no coincidences here, all right, guys. Like these candidates have been chosen for a very specific reason. Chris Pappas has been one of the biggest. No, Minnesota as well. No, Minnesota as well. Michigan has the largest Arab community. Minnesota also has a very large Somali and Arab community. Both states have large Arab communities, but Michigan has the larger one, has Dearborn, Michigan, is what we hear in the news and stuff. Something like, 55,000 Arabs live in Dearborn. But these are important states. And again, they're states that have insurgent candidates in them. Oh, yeah. Abdul El-Sayed is Michigan. Yeah, did I say Minnesota for Abdul El-Sayed? Sorry. Yeah, he's Michigan. He's Michigan against Haley Stevens for Gary Peters' open seat. Gary Peters is retiring. One of the guys who opened the government, Gary Peters, that guy, he was one of the guys one of the retiring senators. He was one of them with Jeanne Shaheen that signed to open the government. All these things are connected. So there's no coincidence here. These are very important people for the Israeli government in terms of, and again, New Hampshire is going to face its own insurgency here. Okay, insurgent races here. Just again, I want to Paige Boschman, that 6% might not seem like a big number, but at this point of the race in like Zohran Mamdani's race, again, it's hard to compare with just Zohran Mamdani, but look at Seattle, who they're electing there, some of these other races. You look at Graham Plattner in Maine, statistically, they're saying his polling wasn't great, but he's the only Democrat that can beat Susan Collins in a general, according to the last poll that came out, right? So depending on the poll you look at. So again, I think it's very important to look between the lines with these candidates and how important they are for the forward. And again, the DMFI, they're rebranding, guys. So we need to AIPAC has become a poisonous phrase. So things like NORPAC, that's another lobbying group that is showing up. That's actually the number 3 fundraiser for Maggie Goodlander. Number 1 and number 3, AIPAC, NORPAC. And I think there's Bain Capital is between there, right? Like sandwiching a nice little private equity right there. So. But that's the last I have to say.
Nightmare blunt rotation.
Yeah, absolutely.
What do you think? Do you want to transition into some of the stuff we were just talking about earlier today? Is this a good point to talk about?
Yeah.
Just a little bit, and then we can move on to
absolutely
to the Shaheen of it all.
Yeah. So this is so something that I before just to give people like a little bit of context, there is a hate campaign going on, which there has been since really, for the longest, since 9/11, really, but it has picked up in Dearborn, anti-Muslim hate, a lot of, obviously, with what happened with the National Guardsmen too, and they're popping out the story that this guy's an Afghan, right, and like all these things about him, and now all of a sudden all these countries are back on a list of being, Iran being one of those countries where my parents are from. And there is something going on here that I want to speak to. Let me show you. Let me show you guys. This is a very complicated issue for me. And I know the only other person I know of, maybe personally in the chat, Sinahan, could probably speak a little bit to kind of the emotions and the feelings and like kind of the things that we notice in this. And the reason I want to point it out is not to victimize any group of people or tokenize any group of people or anything like that. It's to help people. I am always talking about propaganda. I'm always talking about being able to read between the lines and being able to see behind like the forward facing message. And there's a lot of intersectionality in America. There's a lot of things that they're complicated issues for different groups, right? Like, again, it's very complicated when I'm saying I don't want to vote for Kamala, even though I did, okay? But I can use that power to be like, I'm not going to vote for her if she doesn't move on an issue that's important to me. And I think that is an okay thing to want. And I have to make a decision to bend on my own wants and needs for other groups of people. because not only because they're asking me to, but because I want to, because I believe in the greater good. I want to. I believe I have to sacrifice some of the things that I want for the greater good, because there is this social contract. There is a social contract I have with my allies or my perceived allies, that when the time comes, you will stand there for me and sacrifice some of the things for yourself that it would take to protect me. And every time something Middle Eastern adjacent comes, something that has to do with Middle Eastern people, with Muslims, and again, I'm an atheist, okay, but culturally I am Muslim. Culturally I am Middle Eastern. I'm first generation. I grew up with parents who I taught English to, in the house. These are things that they're complicated things, and I expect Republicans to shit on Muslims. Okay, I expect that. That's not really surprising. They're my ideological enemies. I don't expect it from my allies. When there is a hate campaign being forced, again, Islamophobia is different than anything else. There's no other group of people right now that can have like a state-sponsored hate campaign sent to them in Dearborn. And people on my team, quote unquote, like liberals, being like, what did you expect? Deport them all. Teach them a lesson. For me, it's like there is this existential, kind of like this philosophical thing I have to navigate. And it's so difficult. Where, how do you fight for people who would deport you if they had the chance? If like, and it's like, fight for people despite people, or fight for people in spite of people or their views on you. And it's something a lot of people have had to deal with throughout history. But for me, it's so apparent and egregious with the Muslim community, the way Islam is used as a cudgel, the way open hate is occurring, and like the cheering on of retribution, political retribution to your allies. And it makes me wonder, like, who does everyone hate us? Like everyone, not just, and it's hard for me to just talk about it. Let me just show you this video, because this video, I want you to pay attention. The creator doesn't say anything. This is how powerful this video is to me. It's been on my mind all day. Like, it's seriously something that the way he smiles at the end of it makes me question humanity. It's like there are people out there that I vote with on my team that feel this way about other human beings. And again, without like going on too much of a rant, let me just share this. Can you guys see this? I know sometimes it lags.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So if you guys can't see it on TikTok, right? I'm showing a TikTok of a creator. His face is superimposed on a text that says, it's a news report that says, breaking, ICE arrests ramp up in Muslim majority Dearborn, Michigan. And this guy's a liberal. The superimposed face is a liberal with 70,000 followers, something like that. He won't say a word in this video. And in the backdrop of this video, there's going to be a voice, an audio line. And it's going to be of a Muslim guy who has less followers on TikTok than I do. Okay? He's got like 3,000 or something followers. He's a no-name rapper from Michigan. He plays this audio, and in this audio, this guy's saying, we're gonna make Kamala Harris pay for what they're doing with Gaza. Like, as voters, we are gonna make her pay. We're gonna make the Democrats pay, which is what people have been telling the Democratic Party forever, that like people are gonna be upset by like their Gaza policies. He superimposes this voice saying that like they're gonna pay, and then he shows another clip where it shows Dearborn, the amount of vote that went to Trump over time, and then he's laughing as it's like talking about deporting, like he's inferring that all these people are going to get deported. All these Muslims in Dearborn, Michigan are going to get deported, and he's laughing about it towards the end. He's smiling, and I'm going to show you guys some of the comments too, like just because. It's so fucking egregious, Marissa. I'm sorry. I've been talking forever here. I thank you so much for letting me.
No, don't apologize.
I appreciate it. It's so egregious because there is no other community that you could go into these comment sections and go into these videos and see the absolute dehumanization of Middle Easterners and Muslims, you could not see that with any other community and not see just a huge backlash of society being like, that is fucked up. We don't punish a whole group. Just like, again, Imperial Boomerang, that's what they're doing in Gaza, right? They're punishing an entire group for the acts of a few, and that's what they're doing to us here every day. These are the people that like are expecting us to vote with them, to fall in line, just so, again, people that I feel like would deport me given the chance. But I'm just going to play this clip really quickly. I'm sorry for talking so much without playing it.
We are going to do everything in our power to make sure Kamala Harris doesn't win. Vote for if you want to vote.
Again, just a TikTok. They're showing a photo now of Rashida Tlaib, a Palestinian American, mind you, a Palestinian American. She is saying at a rally, a Michigan rally, she's not going to endorse Kamala. How can she? How do you expect her to? You wouldn't expect anyone else to do that because she's Muslim, because she's Palestinian. You put her at that level. She has to endorse the person who is disappearing her bloodlines, who's supporting that. Who else is expected to do that? It's so insane. And it's like, she represents all Muslims apparently in the world, right? Like we're gonna move like a hive mind. Like we listen to people and we take our orders from one person. And from this guy speaking who has no followers, he's a nobody. It's like taking a random voice from Twitter and like the most like insane, maybe vitriolic voice and being like, this person represents all black people. This person, like, again, let me just play the rest of the video. This gets me so heated. I'm sorry.
Trump wouldn't say that. Bitch, I will vote for Satan if I have to. I don't care who we got to deal with for the next 4 years, as long as you motherfuckers know that you fucked up and you guys are going to deal with some type of repercussion for what happened for the last 4 years.
You see, like I'm gonna, and I swear, like when I make a video, I'm going to blow that face up. And it's because there is no way on any dimension, if there was someone in my fucking orbit that lacked this type of humanity, in person, we would have some fucking words, man. And it's not even just about Muslims, but what are you laughing about, bro? The fuck are you laughing about? And like, it's like this is the response to Kamala losing. She lost. It fucked all of us. It fucked all of us. It fucked you too, bro. What are you laughing about? What, like, it's so performative. And if you go through the comments, right? And if some of these comments are so like, Purebone, Michigan voted for Trump. I'm happy for them. If you like it, I love it. Kamala's face, it's all retribution. It's all retribution. And again, ask me, how the fuck do I how do I navigate this? That is the existential, like, philosophical question that I am constantly asking myself. How do I not lose my humanity over this? Like, if I believe that, like, I'm not even safe around certain groups of people that I think, again, and I say this with the ultimate awareness, okay? I know that, like, there are much more at-risk people out there than me in my specific, like, situation. But I am human too, man. And like these things, and there are humans like me that like, things are important to us. Do we not like voice what's important to us? And again, the very last thing before I give it back to you, Marissa, is that statistically, okay? And again, this is me speaking emotionally, okay? But if you want to speak statistically, like the Latino vote for Trump went from 36% to near parity, went to 48%. That's millions. That's over 1 million. The black vote went from like 8% to 16%. That's like 1.7 million people. Okay. Like, there is no campaign to lambast the entire black community for their 1.7 million lacking votes for Kamala Harris. There is no, I'm not sitting here being like, go round up the Latinos that voted for Trump. It's so insane to think like that. And again, the difference in Dearborn, it's 50,000 people. There's 50,000 Muslims in Dearborn. And you're talking about a difference of 22,000 votes, really, one way or the other. And that is the type of focus that they get. That is the entire country focusing on them. You deserve, and again, it's not just this guy. I made a video of another guy with like 100,000 votes, a white guy doing the same thing. This is not race dependent. That's the point I'm trying to make, that this is across the board. This is from left to right, doesn't matter. When it comes down to it, like the dehumanization you see of Middle Easterners in the Middle East is exactly what you see here if given the chance. And again, I wonder sometimes, how far away are we? Like, we are lasering Venezuelans off the Venezuelan coast right now with no interjection. How far away are we from I don't even want to fucking say it out loud. It's so dehumanizing though. And I don't know. I appreciate you letting me vent here. I know I talk to you about it a lot. I don't want this to be like, oh me. I don't want this to be victimizing myself, but I do just want this to be educating to a lot of people how this stuff is so prevalent and it's like coded a lot of the time. And I have to be ultra careful the way I combat this, right, Marissa? Like every word that I use can be weaponized right back at me, and has. Anytime I have criticized a creator of color I thought that has maybe gone too far, I have to and again, I should police my words, but this is the asymmetric nature of that I don't have the critique. I can't criticize. I have to just take it no matter what. And I better shut the fuck up when it comes down to it, or get deported ultimately.
I appreciate you sharing this, and I think everybody does. There's a lot of people in the comments that are chiming in. We were talking about it this morning, and I asked you to share it, and I really appreciate you doing it, because I think it's really important for all of us to understand contextually what you're dealing with, because I think you're right, as we've talked about it over the last few months, especially, like, we are seeing a rise in Islamophobia, and we have never reckoned with the amount of Islamophobia that's rampant, not just in the country, but in liberal left-leaning circles, right? And so seeing that, it almost feels like you're being gaslit a little bit, I imagine, where you're just like, am I being treated different than everybody else? Like, why are the standards different for me? Because it does seem like that. And so I appreciate you for like kind of being vulnerable and talking about how that impacts you, because it is very real. And like, when you are fighting as hard as you are, it kind of probably feels like, do I matter too? Does my family matter too? And it does. Some of the comments I wanted to highlight too, Lydia's in the comments saying, I know how you feel, Arya. Your plight doesn't overwrite my plight as a trans woman. We can fight together. And I think that's a perfect example of why I wanted you to bring this here today, because I think you're not alone, and nobody, not to speak on behalf of the community, but I will, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think anybody reads this as you prioritizing your needs over anybody else's. I think this is another example of like, we have to get our fucking house in order. And anything that's like dehumanizing in this way, we don't have space for it in this world we're building. Like, we don't have space for this kind of dehumanizing behavior. We don't have space for anyone cheering on ICE in any capacity. Like, I don't give a fuck I don't give a fuck like who they voted for. We are not going to be dehumanizing entire communities like this. And so I appreciate you bringing this here and sharing it with us. because it's huge. And obviously, like we were talking about it a little bit this weekend as some of the news was unfolding, and it feels like we're in a moment where this topic is going to get more, and the intensity is going to intentionally be dialed up, right? We know how that happens. We know how that's weaponized against us. And so I think it's important for all of us to be vigilant. Bridget's asking, what can we be doing? Is there any place to push back in regards to this specifically, or just be mindful about Islamophobia and speaking up about it?
No, that's a great question. It's honestly, it's being mindful. And it's so, the thing is, it's not in your face. Sometimes it is. I mean, Dearborn is like pretty in your face, but the mindfulness of like how they portray Middle Easterners in general and how they speak about them, right? Like how their right-wing nature, right? Which is this, any religion, right, has like extremist, like look at evangelicals in America right now. There's nothing, they're undiscernible from like jihadists. They are. Like, yeah, I made a video about it. One has, has pumpkin spice lattes and is clean cut with collared shirts. And another one, it's like the difference in branding, right? Like, so the mindfulness here is things like, again, like the fact that like Middle Easterners are portrayed a certain way in the media, right? Things like certain terms, Middle Eastern, like Arabic phrases, like, things like, Bismillah, the words that we connect to like acts of terrorism now, right? It's like they say something out loud and it's like, oh my God, like people are, and you can see it in Hollywood culture. You see it everywhere. It's so prevalent. And again, it's just the most important part of it is if you can recognize it on the internet, I think you can battle it, at least in your knowledge bank, that like Middle Eastern, like when they use, for example, the most prevalent way like Chris Pappas does this all the time. He brings up LGBTQ issues when he talks about, they use LGBTQ as a cudgel. And it's like, Chris, you know what the best thing you can do for the LGBTQ community is? Not fucking bomb them out of existence. Gay people live in Palestine too, Chris. And again, like this, that's the thing. It's like every time it's like and Middle Easterners do this too. Like Iranians, I talk a lot about this. Like Iranians are actually a lot of them are very pro-Zionist, are very pro-Israel. It's because they hate their own government so much that they are willing to support anyone they think will remove the government. And again, if you go and you, like Middle Easterners will do this too. Iranians will say, oh, go to Palestine if you care. You'll see what they do to gay people. They'll throw you off the buildings, which is one of the most common repeated tropes about Middle Easterners, that like everyone behaves like ISIS, right? Like the fuck you think the evangelicals are going to do to you here if they have power? You think they're going to like treat you well? You think they're going to like, they're building like their first like shooting range in Idaho right now, like for public executions. It's so insane. It is so used as a cudgel. It's so used to fearmonger. Little things like that, just having the awareness is enough, having that awareness and knowing that like we aren't a monolith, right? Like we're so complicated. I just gave you the perfect example. Iranians. Iran is just constantly pegged as this anti-Jewish, anti-Israel, anti-everything country. And it's like, bro, the people in Iran love Israel. If they could all move to Israel and support the Israeli bombing of the Iranian government, they would. A lot of Iranians hate Palestinians because they believe Palestinians are draining money from the Iranian government. They're supporting, just like we're giving money to Argentina and not supporting our own people, that builds a natural hate towards Argentina. Right? It's like Argentina's taking our fucking money. It's indirectly, right? So all these things are weighted, they're intersectional, they're complicated. We're not a monolith. I get into, a lot of Iranians think I am an agent of the Iranian government because I am anti-Israel and anti-American government. So they think I am pro-Iranian government. It's very complicated, just so you know. But I appreciate You got all your support. No one in this community has ever made me feel any type of way. Always been the most supportive. It's never brought up. It never should be. But these things, I think, again, I'm throwing my words around here, but at least from an educating perspective, going into 2024, if there's anything that I could teach anyone about this, is that this behavior that this guy is doing is exactly the behavior that lost us the election. What this is doing is divisive. It's dividing. It is pointing out one. This is like, in capitalism, they say when the poor are going after the poor, these are two marginalized communities. You are punching down. You're punching sideways here, and we should be punching up always.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely. I actually reminded me, Jamie commented, Blue MAGA are some of the cruelest people. Ice storms in Texas, they laugh. Hurricane in North Carolina, they shrug. And I think that is another like big takeaway for everyone on this is we have to be combating this dehumanization everywhere we see it. It doesn't matter if it's directed towards people who voted for Trump. It doesn't matter if it's directed at people you don't like in any way. It's like, we cannot accept that. And we have, right? The left has accepted this type of like dehumanization and we've made it okay. It's like it's like MAGA does it. And so then we do it too. I think, I'm thinking about the Michelle Obama, like we go low, they go low, we go high, and kind of the backlash to that, which was justified. But we don't have to go that fucking low, right? There's no excuse to ever go that fucking low. And so like calling it out when you see it, calling it what it is, calling it dehumanization, calling it racist when it's racist. Like, we have to sort of call out that shit when we see it in our communities, because it is incumbent upon us to like not accept this kind of vitriol anywhere we see it. And so I really appreciate you bringing it here, and I appreciate your vulnerability, because I think to your point, a lot of folks in our community, a lot of folks literally in New Hampshire are white, right? And I've personally gained a lot of perspective from what you've shared. And I really appreciate you sharing it, because it's helping all of us keep our eyes open and show up better for other parts of our community. So I really, I just am appreciative of your vulnerability in all this. So thanks, bud.
Of course, I appreciate you guys. And again, I'm trying to be a new me, right? So the positivity I want everyone to take from this is that there's still a lot of work to be done, and that like these are traps. This is a trap set for me. Okay, like this algorithm knows what I'm on the cusp of. It knows, and it's setting traps for me, and that's my perspective here. That like there have always been like this, people like this that have existed. Like this isn't new. This isn't something I'm seeing for the first time. But I saw it today with very little sleep after like an emergency at work, and I was just like not having a good day, and it's affected me like all day. It's really affected me all day. Like, and it's one of those things where like rest is resistance, right? Like if I had a full night of sleep and I had like, my day was normal and I was good, like maybe I deal with this a little bit differently, maybe it doesn't affect me in the way it does, but it really, for me, the best part of this has been trying to teach myself to weaponize this into something good, right? Like all this vitriol and this angst I feel. How did I used to get rid of it before? Maybe I go on the attack here. Maybe in the past, I take this video, I stitch it, and I get real brutal. Like I say some shit that that doesn't help. Not that it's like, offensive, but it's just yelling. How is that going to help? It's just going to create the same kind of like assumption that he has about me, right? But how do I turn that into something positive? And I think, again, the positive part here is that recognizing the traps and being able to overcome them and fighting towards something positive ultimately for everyone will get you past these traps. I think that's important. And I appreciate everyone in this community, all the comments. You guys are amazing. I love all you guys. I appreciate it.
Get some sleep, Arya.
Yeah,
go to bed. I almost joke at the top of the show about how you were up late for work. And I was like, everyone thinks that we just sit around twiddling our thumbs all day because we kill time on Twitch in the middle of the afternoon, but we have jobs, okay? We have jobs.
It sucks. I wish I could just be doing this all day. Like, this would be amazing. Just kicking the shit, yelling at people.
There's not a whole lot of money in the economy right now for left-leaning political candidates.
I was going to say, not in the leftist space. If you want to sell some like horse tranquilizer or something to cure cancer, I'm sure you'll do good on the right.
Exactly. We're gonna work on a Puma sponsorship for Arya because his wardrobe is already just 30 different Puma sweatshirts.
So blown up on Twitch all the time. Unbelievable. No safe spaces.
Oh. All right, Snowflake, let's get on to the next. Enough of your fucking feelings.
Right,
speaking of things that Arya couldn't speak freely about over the internet, let's talk about let's talk about the Shaheen TikTok from Thanksgiving.
Please.
Just know sometimes there you go. I was just gonna tell them how sometimes before we post something, if we know we're gonna get in trouble, we'll be like, I need HR approval on this one. I have a list of different friends who get HR texts. So sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I see, and a lot of like anything that I think is even like close to questionable with like, especially having to do with like women's issues or like talking to women, because this is scary territory for me, right? This is like 4 women, and you got like a family of women, and like I gotta be very careful here. I can hand it off. Marissa can say whatever the fuck she wants.
I was like, Arya, shut the fuck up on this one for a few days.
But I just need to be in observe mode for stuff like this. So.
Hey. How y'all doing?
So I just learned that New Hampshire.
You gotta let it play one more time too, just because I was talking over it. It was a quick one.
Data?
I want to.
Hey. Hey. How y'all doing? Data?
So I just learned.
Why don't I repeat? I wish it would. Okay. Tell us.
All right. So let's paint the picture. When did I see this? What night? 3 days ago. So I don't know. I saw this at like 9:00 at night after I had been up for a while, because I don't follow this account because I have opinions about this person. So I don't follow this account. It got sent to my feed after it had been up for a while. So I see John Kuiper's comment on it. This is quality NH Talk content. My first reaction is, John, don't tell him about NH Talk. I don't want him to look. But no, they're already looking. I don't know what delusion I'm giving myself here, but I got a little scared. Joe's here. Welcome, Joe.
Joe.
So I saw John's comment. I saw a few of the other comments. And my first reaction, like, honestly, was I laughed. I was like, that's funny. And then I thought about it for like half of a second and was like, what the fuck? Like, it really took me that long to go from like, that was funny to don't do that. And granted, I'm coming at this from a PR background, right? So I do PR, I do corporate comms, I tell people what they should or shouldn't say publicly. That's what I get paid to do. And let me just tell you, it's not surprised that this went out over Thanksgiving weekend, when I don't think this probably went through approvals that it normally would have, because you would have thought somebody involved would have been like, this is probably not a great idea, but nobody did, right? And so the context on this, if anybody is like not tracking, and if you're following on TikTok and didn't see the video, we just played the video from, the account is called Shaheen in the House. This is Stephanie Shaheen's campaign TikTok. And they posted this video where they were essentially making a joke about how the girls aren't beefing because Stephanie Shaheen came out against Jean Shaheen's vote around reopening the government.
They tagged CNN.
The whole conversation, the hashtag CNN. I didn't see that until later, and that really like got me. So like I have this whole visual in my head of how this played out in the room, and how they were like, we've got this funny idea and everyone's going to think we're so relatable and it's going to be fun family content. But the problem is that's negating the fucking thousands of people online who have been screaming about how fucked up this decision was and how she ignored everything that her constituents were asking her to do. This ignores all of the context around this conversation. I've literally heard from hundreds of people through comments, through DMs, through emails since this has happened, of people that are just beside themselves and like don't know what to do because they are in full panic that they will not be able to survive without their medical care. So this is life or death. This is like a very real life or death situation for a lot of people living here in New Hampshire. I know that. Theoretically, they should know that, right? And so I left a snarky little comment just about I don't know, they deleted it now, it's gone, but I left a snarky little comment about how no worries, we all knew the girls were collabing. We knew they were working together behind the scenes. Because that's the thing, right? The fact that Stephanie Shaheen came out so quickly with a statement saying that the fact that she came out so quickly with a statement saying she disagreed with her mother, they worked behind the scenes. Nothing happens without the Shaheen family all knowing, right? They're all operating in lockstep. So this really hit a nerve with me. This did absolutely strike a nerve with me because I believe you used the word cahoots. I did. I said, I think we knew the girls were in cahoots. That's, yeah, I have a screenshot somewhere, but I've got
you and Joe's intuition was good here, screenshotting the comments, by the way. Let me tell you, because like, you would never be able to know.
So that was at like 9 p.m. I was laying there thinking about it, and I messaged you about it because I was like, I was mad at like a 10, right? And I was like, okay, I need, Arya is my anger gut check sometimes, but you also came in pretty pissed too. So I was like, okay, all right. But I was just laying there eating my Nerds gummy clusters after like smoking a bowl. And I was like, all right, I'm not going to make a video about this tonight. I've got to show restraint. And so I waited and I just left the comment. And then just within 2 hours, they like closed comments, deleted everything.
It was fast.
And so now all the comments are off on all of their videos. So they didn't block me actually, Sinahan, which is interesting. So yeah, that happened this weekend. I officially have enough views on my Instagram reel about this that I'm scared. I'm like a little nervous. It went a little bit too viral. But I think the reality is true, right? Like I feel strongly about this because there was so many people who have reached out to me since that vote. And I know if that many people reached out to me and I'm just a fucking idiot content creator, nobody, how many people are reaching out to Jean Shaheen to tell her how they're feeling? And so for that, I just felt so, my heart just like hurt for a lot of the people that are in these situations. And I can't remember which Shaheen it is. Somebody in the family has like type 1 diabetes. And I think that personally, I mentioned that in my video too, not to like shit on people with diabetes, but because like my husband's got type 1 diabetes and like, I know how scary it is. It's like really, it's a very fucking scary disease and it's very expensive. And it's like scary in the sense of like, hey, if you don't have $2,000 to buy this little vial, you will die. So it's like expensive in a very like tactile way. And to know, I've anyone who has chronic health conditions has gone down the path of like, what happens if I am not able to access my care? And so the making light of it really just, it bothered me for all of those people that I have heard from that are feeling very scared and had a different holiday, right? They had a very different looking holiday where they were feeling, they were in a much different situation. So yeah, I just thought that was shitty. I just thought it was shitty. And I thought that it's interesting, going back to the poll numbers we were talking about earlier, Stephanie Shaheen's not making a dent. Stephanie Shaheen's polling at like 25% or something like that in that race. I'd have to go back and check, but she's not doing as well as you would think for somebody who's got this kind of name recognition and party backing. And so I think this is another example of like, the establishment is not keeping up with what the electorate needs right now and is not listening to the electorate, and that is going to fuck them. And they can turn off comments all they want, but like, we're going to keep talking about it. Lynn's in the comments on TikTok I'm not seeing comments. Yeah, they deleted all the negative comments except for John Kuiper's because I don't think they understood that
They don't understand Kuiper's comment.
It was delicate and he was delicate enough about it that he could get away with it. But they deleted a lot of the comments. So and then wait, Lynn says my deleted comment said posting from Versailles instead of volunteering at a soup kitchen is wild. That's funny. See, you guys got really funny in the comments. I'm so sorry they turned them off because I really appreciated that.
They turned them off fast too. It was fast. They was like real quick. But I just want to like Kuiper's comment is a 4D chess comment. Okay, like that is such he like I don't even know if he knew how good of a comment it was when he left it. He was trying to probably be a little bit sassy when he left the comment even, you know? And he didn't realize.
It's funnier in retrospect.
Yeah, for sure. And they left it, and it has by far the most likes. By far, like, insanely more likes than any other comment on there. So it doesn't give them any sign. It's just so funny to me. It's just, oh my God. But no, in all seriousness, it is what we are. I want to just bring it back to just what does this say? What is this saying between the lines, right? Between the lines, what it's telling you is that they don't give a fuck about you. Okay, first of all, they don't give a fuck about you. And no clear, I'm not going to baby any of y'all through this. Okay? They don't give a fuck about you. They don't give a fuck about any of us. Okay? This post went out with the awareness that the greater public, the internet, right? Because the internet electorate has gotten a lot of shit over the years. People that were like performative and that we don't care, and they thought that this would play well to us. Like they thought that this would be cute. We thought it would be cute, you know? And it is so egregiously not cute, like the opposite of cute, where I'm not even allowed to do it because it might be offensive if I say how outrageously uncute it is. But it's like, what can you say in response? What can you actually say outside of one of two things is happening here. The first one is either you are so insanely confident in your position, so confident in being untouchable that you will just put out whatever like let them eat cake, you know, like Hunger Games-esque kind of cruelty, like the whole Versailles, you know, what Trouble Lynn said, that juxtaposition, Versailles, super. That's what it is. It's a Hunger Game juxtaposition you're giving here, and that's what this is. And yes, Stephanie Shaheen's campaign wrote out a statement for both blowbacks, whether or not they were going to be supportive of this decision or they were going to get blowback. Her campaign had both prepared. They probably even worked with Jean Shaheen's people. Her people, probably, like Marissa, you brought up, Chris Pappas's people, Maggie Goodlander's people are the same. They share stuff they share their people, their volunteers. It's the same thing going on. This is one big campaign. They have played this out. They got 2 statements ready for Stephanie. The blowback was real, so she sent the I don't agree with mom. Right. Okay. And again, this might have worked to other voters, to people outside of New Hampshire, right? Doesn't work here. And even the comments that are like, it's like keeping it real. Love this. I want to, like, this is a big fucking game. But it's only, just to make this, there's only like 6 comments on there. So you know.
They deleted everything else.
How many comments were deleted from that? And I just think it's, turn this into positivity. They are not fucking aware of what's coming down the pipe. The waterfall, the dam that is about to hit the establishment in this fucking state, they have no clue what's coming. And it's up to us to provide that for them, to provide that little surprise for them.
It was Pat left a comment. It didn't speak to New Hampshire Democratic voters. It certainly didn't speak to New Hampshire Republican voters, and it wasn't appealing to the national stage, tagging CNN. So I don't know what they were doing. The CNN tag was interesting, and that comment made me think, like, I wonder if they're trying to, like, it almost seems like they're trying to position themselves for, like, they're trying to, like, level up the whole family in terms of public awareness and maximizing on this public awareness. And it's just kind of interesting. And yeah, it's completely not speaking to the moment that we're in right now. Yeah, and no one is under the illusion that they differ on anything. Exactly. It's this, I don't know who they were talking to. I think they were trying to get a cute, funny, like, Thanksgiving clip that would be shown on CNN of, like, oh, let's do this little cultural, funny humor moment. And it didn't work because they're not tuned into what their constituents want, and they're not used to having to care about it. The more that we've been paying attention to what happens at the New Hampshire Democratic Party level, it's clear that they've never really needed to be concerned with what people think of them. It's clear that they haven't really worried about that because they have this whole party structure backing them. And so what we're seeing now with Shaheen not pulling, she's not really pulling, she's leading the primary polls, but barely, but not by a lot, considering the amount of name recognition she has. She's not resonating with voters. And so, yes, if you look at the raw numbers and some of the polling data, some of these other candidates are polling low, but, like, we're only getting started, guys. We still have a year. And if this is how they're going to handle the next year, they're crazy. And I think what's interesting is that, like, we're starting to see more of these people getting on TikTok. We're seeing Stephanie Shaheen on TikTok. I saw Maggie Goodlander pop up on TikTok. And I think what's happening is they're learning that TikTok is important in New Hampshire, but they're not learning why. And so they are like, let's just put our normal bullshit on there. And what they're not realizing is that, like, this space is very active, but it's active with people who are, like, really pushing for change and pushing for a better future. And how many of them voted to ban the app? That's a great point too, is, like, a bunch of these motherfuckers voted to ban TikTok. And now they're like, never mind. It's not that much of a national security issue because I'm trying to win an election again. Elena, welcome back. We got more folks in the chat.
Oh yeah.
We're gonna wrap up in a few minutes, but hang with us for the tail end of this.
And
so that was my thought. Yeah, go ahead, Arya.
No, I just want to tell Trouble In too. You don't need to download Twitch either. It is a browser. Like, so you can download the app, or you can just search us on a browser. You don't even need an account. You can watch us on TV. You can put it on TV. You can put it on your tablet, like whatever. Twitch is just so much easier in so many ways, but no stress. I mean, we're going to be here 3 days a week. The thing I was going to, again, more hopium for y'all here, okay, about this money issue. They are behaving very like this is, it doesn't matter, right? And none of this matters, right? And again, maybe it won't, because it is incumbent on us to make them pay for this, right? I want to give you guys just a couple of again, number examples here. I go back to the Eric Cantor Tea Party days, okay? Eric Cantor spent $6 million on that campaign. On that primary. He spent $6 million. The number 2 Republican.
That's crazy.
Insane. Do you know how much his primary opponent spent? $200,000. Didn't spend a dollar on TV ads. Did not spend a dollar. Had a core group of fervent, ideologically aligned people who went to the places that Cantor wouldn't go in Virginia, went to the small towns, went and knocked on doors, went and talked to everyone, and was ideological. At the time, okay, I'm going to give you guys another really crazy attachment here of, like, how these two things are so similar. At the time in Virginia, there was an issue that was the number 1 issue in Virginia at the time for those voters. By far the most important issue than anything else. It wasn't housing for Republicans. It was immigration. at the time was by far the most important thing to those voters. So what did Brat do? What did the Tea Party guy do? That's all he talked about. That's literally all he talked about. He built a purity test for the other candidate. There was somewhere he was willing to go on immigration. He brought it up every single time and forced Eric Cantor into a position every time to walk away from it, to not give an answer, to hedge, to not be, because they were pushing him to the right on Republicans. There was a time, guys, I don't know, some of you might not remember, Republicans used to hide a lot of their craziness and used to like kind of be ideological. They used to talk about being against immigration and Roe v. Wade, but they never actually, the dog never caught that car, right? They always knew you had to have something to run on. You don't actually catch the car. And they've caught the car now. They don't know what to do with the car. So now that they've caught it. But back then it was something to run on. And Eric Cantor hedged over and over again. And they forced it on him. And why can't New Hampshire representatives do that with housing? Private equity in housing. Force every candidate. If you got every progressive candidate into a room right now, okay? So like Paige Boschman, John Kuiper, Karishma, you got these into a room and you say, listen, every other sentence you bring up housing. Every other sentence you bring up housing. Housing. How's housing connected? Will you take all private equity out of housing? Do you agree to take all private equity out of housing? Yes or no? Force a yes or no. Yes or no. Yes or no. Will you ban Airbnb from taking housing in New Hampshire? Yes or no? Yes or no? Oh my God, the hat. Let's go. Let's go. Tell people what it says for those who can't read it.
Make housing affordable again. This is a Kuiper swag.
Yes.
Anyway, I just wanted to echo your point non-verbally.
Absolutely. That's a fucking great hat. Kuiper knows. So Kuiper has hit here. And again, these are populist things. Marijuana. Legalizing marijuana, that is a populist issue. We need to get on populist programs. We need to push populism. And again, just don't get offended by what I'm about to say. Republicans are not
no promises.
Republicans are not our opponents here. You need to force this level of thinking that you need to stop focusing right this second. You need to stop focusing on bashing Republicans in this state. Okay? It's not worth your time. What's worth your time is messaging around housing. That is the only thing worth your time right now. What do I mean by that? I mean populist issues. Again, you go look up like the Young Turks. I know not everyone's a fan of them, but they are making something very popular right now, which is called the populist plank, right? Which is like 6 or 7 issues that are very populist. Actually, you know what? Maybe I'm just gonna pop them up if you don't mind, Marissa. We can like look at what these planks are and see how much we agree with them, because they are. It's a system being used by a lot of candidates right now. Let's share this tab right here. Okay, here it is, the populist plank. So you can actually go look at it. It's thepopulistplank.com if you want to. So it's not, and the Young Turks talk about it a lot. I'm not endorsing what the Young Turks, they obviously they hit on some things, not so much on other things, but higher wages, paid family leave, no more wars, negotiate all drug prices, keep money out of politics, ban private equity from buying up houses. That's the populist plank. Those are populist issues, right? Issues that are going to energize people to show up. And again, I talk about housing a lot to begin with. Think about how easy it would be for candidates to say, you know what? We are going to ban all private equity from buying starter homes tomorrow. We're going to call it the American Dream Act for our Gen Z kids out there. We're doing it for our Gen Zers. You want to excite some Gen Zers, Sinahan? Sinahan, you want to excite some Gen Zers to get into these races? You promised them, you get me elected, I will make sure no company can buy your starter home. I will make sure you will get the first shot at your starter home the way your parents did, the way your grandparents did, the way every American generation got to do. Because that is the American dream. That's why my parents came here. They didn't come here to get pushed out by white mullahs. They left brown mullahs to come here and live in freedom and not be politically persecuted and to buy their house, their little, house in the prairie. And they did that and they love it, and every generation, I should be allowed to do that too. Okay. Like if I want to have kids, my kids should be allowed to do that. Your kids should be allowed to do that. They should not be starting at such a disadvantage, and that's and I realize this now. I realize now that like maybe my time to live that American dream has come and gone, or not come and gone, but it's not too late for it's not too late for us as a society. I'm not willing to, when I say come and gone, I don't mean like, oh, I'm so hopeless, but I understand where we are.
You just meant you were old.
Yeah, I'm kind of old. I look good for 40, but it's just where we are in like society, right? It's like where we are in this timeline. I'm recognizing it, and how again, if you just had a candidate right now, I just want you guys to just imagine this. Last thing I say before I give it to Marissa. Imagine a candidate comes out of the woodwork in New Hampshire, right? Just comes out of the woodwork and only says like one sentence. I want all private equity out of housing. I'm not running on anything else. I'm not running on any other thing in this state. I don't give a fuck about anything else. Don't ask me about anything. My platform is taking private equity out of housing. You don't think that guy or that woman could win a primary? Just on that sentence. I'm not talking in the country. I'm not talking in different parts. I'm talking about in New Hampshire right now with the amount of people suffering with housing. I'm telling you, man, when people in chat are talking about creative ways to get people involved, we need to break this down in its simplicity. We are complicating this. There is one issue that people in New Hampshire care about, and it is our job to start building an entire movement off this issue. We can't discuss what the issues are anymore. We as a community, it's time to start building our message, the New Hampshire Talk message. And I do think that housing, again, I'm not speaking for New Hampshire. New Hampshire is speaking for New Hampshire. That housing is what New Hampshire cares about.
Arya's cooking, guys. This is the good stuff. Yeah, absolutely. And I love this. And I think that, like, again, harkening back to the survey, we started the conversation talking about the St. Anselm survey. If you haven't looked it out, there's a bunch of new poll data that came out from St. Anselm about a week ago. So if you Google that, there's a lot of updates on races. We went through a little bit of it earlier, but also just sort of tone and tenor of where things are in the state. And these issues are giving us a big opportunity to reach folks that are disengaged. And we have so many disengaged voters. And to your point, we really the group we most have to activate in the primary is this youngest population, is this youngest voting bloc. And these are the people that are most impacted by not being able to your point, is this American dream is completely inaccessible to them and it's completely out of reach. And how do you even, I can't even imagine. Like, I really sincerely feel for people who are in school right now, because like, how do you dream, right? Like, how do you even dream in this environment? How do you like imagine what a good future for yourself can look like? And I think that's where we have the opportunity to come in and paint the picture that like this reality is possible. Elena said earlier, I gotta scroll back up, but she said in terms of like private equity, she said, we tried, they killed the bill. We could have had a 60-day waiting period before private equity could buy homes, dead by NHGOP hands. And I think it's like these aren't new ideas, right? It's not like Arya's like, oh, I just had this great idea. We're going to focus on housing. And like, I'm the first one to ever think of it. But I think that to hit on it, because regularly, and the fact that it doesn't exist is like, Elena, to your point, is like, you guys are trying, you're putting forward these bills, you're putting forward this stuff, and it's being turned down. And it's another reason why that we have to continue the conversation about activating these rural communities. And it all connects, and it all, to John Kuiper's point, it all comes back to reps not getting paid and how we have the Free Staters running the state house. But all these things, can start to shift as soon as we see that electorate shift. So I feel very optimistic. Go ahead and talk about this piece of it, Arya.
I mentioned this earlier today, right? This is what I was talking about. Merrimack Premium Outlets denied permitting for apartments, right? So how does this attaches directly to the polling we just saw, right? Which is, let me see if I can expand this a little, make it a little bit larger for you guys to read. There you go. If anyone knows about the Merrimack Outlets area, like, it is very open area. There's a lot of space there, like a lot of space. And again, the reasoning that they gave for, and the space that they wanted to use is like an it's like an overflow parking lot that they use to like park winter vehicles in right now. That's like what with like snow removal vehicles and shit. Like, that's what they have that spot for. And they wanted to build like, I don't know, like 200 apartments, something like that. That portion of the site has gone undeveloped since the mall opened in 2012. It's currently just a parking area for the mall's snow removal vehicles. Okay. You can turn that into, like they said, like 200 apartments or something like that. Around 200, 230 to 192. Even at the reduced scale, zoning felt that development would bring too much traffic to the corridor. As the mall is in a busy area. Too much traffic. They attempted to address that concern through impact studies, but Niles felt that was grossly inadequate. Why? Why is that grossly inadequate? Niles said the traffic study anticipated 50 vehicles entering and leaving the... Bro. Do you see the fucking lengths that these assholes... I don't even care what it says in front of his name. Republican, Democrat, doesn't fucking matter, okay? It's like, so don't worry about that, who this person votes for, who this person is. Does not matter. That is just wasting your time. Because both parties do this in this state. And you just saw a poll that said 78% of New Hampshire residents want to see the government go after zoning. You just saw that. You just saw the poll, and this came out. So, again, to go back to who had said about the they had tried to push the 60-day. Someone had said that in chat.
Oh, Elena,
always saying great stuff in chat. The problem, I didn't even know they were doing that, right? And I know a lot of you guys think of me as like some politically connected person now, like I talk about these things, but I have been activated relatively recently. Some of y'all have been doing this work for a long time, for a long time, and it's about time you got some help here. It's about time us normal people, us normies, wake up. And this is what's getting us to wake up. And my whole hopeful thing here is that if you think someone like me I'm activated now. Someone like Marissa, she's activated now. Who else do you think is in the pipe right now? Like this community, we didn't have anything to do with it. We just gave a place, like even Marissa, not even me, Marissa gave a place for us all to hang out one day. And all of a sudden we all met each other. And now we're working towards things. We're working towards North Stars. We're working with hope. And where I am right now, guys, and I know it's a little bit of a place of privilege, but where I am now, compared to where I was in after election day, I have so much more hope than I did right after election day. And it's because of all of you. It's because of these conversations that we have, because you guys are constantly educating me. And you guys are telling me that you guys are posting and stuff. And like, I see more of you posting, and this is how we control the algorithm. Again, it's not just by one or two people posting and it going viral. It's by all of us posting together as a wave, using the same hashtags. Again, the new NHTALK, NHTALKS. It's like a wave that is going on. And now you're seeing people can go through that wave and see like there are people that care about everything here. You know, there are people care about housing. There are people care about trans rights. There are people care. I mean, people care about. They're not mutually exclusive, but there are experts in all these things here that are working in great ways. And I just, I'm so thankful for everyone. You know, and we do this together. You know, like we are only as strong as our weakest link. And I think it's really important to recognize that and lift everyone together.
I love that. That's a nice note to end on too. I think I'll just say one last thing, which is like, I've been thinking a lot too about like, what's the next phase of all of this? And like, what can I do next? And what's in my control and what's in our control and what can we do here? And I think your point about the algorithm and social media is really important because when you post something and you use hashtag NHTALK, it's not just going to the same group of 100 people who follow the hashtag or typically engage with that content. You as Joe, right? You as Sewing Nerd Studios, when you post a video, it's not just going to the 50 of us or 100 of us or 200 of us who are active posting videos on TikTok. It's going to like all of the other sort of communities that you touch. It's also the algorithm is sending it to your local area. So it's sending it to, I won't dox you, but it sends it to your area of the state. So the more people we have posting from different areas of the state about different topics, the more likely we are to reach in new people. We are the pipeline. So all of us are the pipeline. I am not the pipeline. I am just like, I appeal to a certain type of people. Arya appeals to a different type of person. All of you have different connections that appeal, that cause other people to be drawn to you. So we're not going to move the needle by Marissa and Arya posting on social media. We're going to move the needle by all of us sharing not only on this app, but on our other social media apps as well, and sharing that content for normie people. Sometimes people will give me a little bit of shit about like posting about, I don't know, I did like 4 or 5 videos about the Shaheen and Hassan vote about the ACA. I did a lot more videos about probably than 4 or 5 now that I'm thinking about it. But those are the videos that go viral, right? And so what happens then is that goes viral. Then you get a wave of new followers. And those are all people then who see all this other shit that we're talking about. And they see the candidates that we're talking about. And so people will say, oh, you're just like posting about negative stuff. You post about stuff that is relevant and interesting and timely to people as part of the news cycle. And then you get them in the pipeline. And so we have to start thinking about ourselves as that pipeline. And so don't just think about like, I'm posting a video for the NHTALK community. Think about, how am I posting a video that's going to get sent to my neighbors, which is a scary thought, and I try not to think about it too much. But like, how can I talk about these issues that are most relevant to my community as they're relevant? So I'm thinking about doing like a class or something like that for folks who are interested in maybe posting more content and want some advice or tips. Let me know if you're interested in that. But I think that this group is already doing so much to activate, and it's amazing. You guys, honestly, I think about it all the time. And I'm finding myself like laying awake at night thinking about like what weird shit I can do to like get stuff to go viral and get people to pay attention, because like really that's the game we're in right now. And for a lot of us, that's the tool we have at our disposal, is like, how can we get people to pay attention? Because we know that's the battle we're facing in New Hampshire, especially as we're leading up to the primary, is just how do we get people to pay attention to what's happening? And we have the power to do that by the content that we create, by what we post online. What do you got here, Arya? And then we're going late. We got to go.
I'm going to say,
what's up? Heath is here.
Yeah, Heath.
But Heath, we're done. We're wrapping up.
Yeah, Heath. We love Heath up in here. We talked about Heath a lot. You'll see some of those clips. Just repeating what Elena said. House session, December 17th, 2025. There's a live stream right here. I'm looking at the link. And there's a link right now in Twitch as well. But YouTube will have the session live on YouTube if you want to watch it there. Also, just a personal note, I know we are talking about progressive candidates. You guys know who I am working for, Paige Boschman. She is going to have an event on December 6th, Saturday. I heard Marissa's going to be there. I don't know if it's going to be true. I heard she might show up.
That's the rumor.
That's the rumor on the street. It will be a winter clothing drive as well. It will be at the UU in Nashua. It's going to be a great event. The UU is awesome. If you know anything about the UU church, it is a kind of like it's like a secular church, you know. It's the first time I had ever heard of a secular church. Such a beautiful place, beautiful messaging, and there for a good reason. So come and meet Paige Boschman if you're in Southern New Hampshire. She is one of these progressive insurgent candidates, like Heath Howard, like Karishma, John Kuiper. You know, we have a bunch of them in New Hampshire, and it's important that we, you know, support them all. So I think this is going to be a great event. I hope to see you guys there.
Yes, no, I am. Jokes aside, I am planning on coming, but I'm bringing a toddler, so that's my only asterisk.
Absolutely,
You just see. You never know if they
at all the events, childcare.
Yeah,
at all
exactly.
The events. So remember that.
I will be bringing my child to have Paige's babysitters entertain her. That is the plan. And then Elena, I'm looking at what you posted in here too. If you want to DM us, if there's anything specific, if you have any more context on the House session on December 17th and anything specific we can support with in terms of mobilizing folks, let me know. And if there's anywhere that we should, if you guys have any ideas about, Arya and I have been kicking around a lot of like silly little ideas about like doing some silly live streams in like crazy places. So if you have any like fun ideas like that, let me know. And then Joe said in the comments, I had a lot of engagement on a video about Heath Howard calling out Shaheen and got to tell a handful of new folks about his campaign who hadn't heard of him. That's exactly what I'm talking about. That's the shit that actually really does matter. And don't let anybody tell you that like posting on social media doesn't matter, because it really does. This is how we get the word out. This is how we can make that incremental change. So thank you, Joe, for posting videos. Thank you everyone here who's putting yourself out there in new ways and trying to move the needle. And thank you guys for being here with us. Arya, thank you for showing us your sweet, vulnerable side today. Sinan's posted a funny comment that is like long gone, but about how you're, you can come off as loud and screamy online, but in person, you got a heart of gold. And I think
you guys are sweet
today. So we all appreciate you.
Don't tell people that.
That's all I got.
I gotta be tough to the public. No, I appreciate it. I love you guys.
Big tough guy.
I appreciate it.
All right, guys. Have a good one. We'll talk to you on Wednesday.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah, fuck Royal Crest. Fuck that place.